Listen carefully. Tonight is not just the closing of another day. Tonight is a gate, a spiritual doorway, and whoever controls the night commands the day.
Before you sleep, there is a mantle of authority resting upon you. Heaven is waiting for your voice. Destiny is waiting for your decree. You cannot enter a new day casually. Nothing changes by chance. Things change when light comes, when understanding rises, and when your spirit speaks with conviction. Tonight, as you prepare to rest, you will not lie down defeated, confused, or overwhelmed. No, you are about to issue a command that the realms of darkness cannot ignore. Every enemy that rises against your purpose, fear that whispers lies, delay that slows your steps, an unseen resistance that fights your progress tonight, they bow. Not by your strength, but by the authority given to you. This night carries victory, and the day ahead will respond to your voice. Prepare your heart, align your spirit, because before you sleep tonight, heaven will honor your decree, and every tomorrow will open in your favor. Tonight, you command your day, and your enemies will fail. The night has always held a quiet mystery, a kind of stillness that feels different from any other moment in the day. It is a time when everything slows down, the noise fades, the responsibilities pause, and the human heart becomes more honest. But beyond the physical calm, the night is a spiritual gate, a transition between what has been and what is coming. It is a moment that carries weight, because in the realm of the spirit, nights are never empty. They are charged with possibilities, instructions, battles, and victories. Many people think the day starts when the sun rises, but spiritually, the day begins the moment the previous one closes. Night is the womb of the morning. What you plant in that quiet, unseen moment becomes the harvest that greets you when you wake. That is why spiritually sensitive people treat the night with reverence. They know that it is not just a time to lie down and hope for the best. It is a time to align themselves with the purposes of God, to adjust their thoughts, their emotions, and their expectations before stepping into a new cycle of chance. Opportunities. What a person does before they sleep determines what follows them into the next day. You cannot afford to enter the next season unconsciously. Just as no builder lays a foundation carelessly, no spiritual person approaches the night casually. The night is where foundations are set, where the unseen framework of tomorrow is shaped. If you do not command the night will command you. If you do not declare over the next day will arrive carrying whatever was programmed against you. There is something about the stillness of the night that makes the heart more open and the spirit more receptive. In the daytime, distractions scatter attention. People speak, tasks demand focus, emotions run in different directions. But at night, when everything becomes quiet, the human spirit naturally settles. This is why many spiritual encounters, dreams, instructions, and warnings come at night. The mind rests and the spirit listens. Heaven often waits for this silence to communicate what was missed during the busyness of the day. That silence is not empty. It is an invitation, a call to align yourself with what God is doing and saying. When you stand in that moment before sleep, in that spiritual doorway between days, you are standing in a place where decrees matter. Words spoken in that moment carry weight. They settle deeply into the subconscious. They travel into the atmosphere, and they command attention in the realm of the spirit. The Bible shows this pattern repeatedly. Victories were won by night. Decrees, battles were decided in the night. Watches and destinies were shifted because someone understood that the night is not a time for weakness, but a time for spiritual legislation. You speak in the night because the day is shaped by what was said when no one else was watching. You command the night because your authority must go ahead of you and create order before you arrive in the morning. Many people suffer things they cannot explain because their nights are left unguarded. Negative thoughts are allowed to settle. Fear is allowed to linger. Anger sleeps in the heart. and spiritual attacks meet no resistance. But when a person learns to approach the night with intention, everything changes. When you treat the night as a gate, you begin to close the wrong doors and open the right ones. You shut the door to fear, heaviness, confusion, premature death, sorrow, and delay. You open the door to favor, clarity, angelic activity, prophetic alignment, and divine guidance. You begin to sleep with peace, not because everything is perfect, but because you have declared the atmosphere under the authority of God. There is also a prophetic sensitivity that comes at night. It is the moment when you can look back at the day that has passed, not from a place of frustration or regret, but from a place of wisdom. The night gives you the chance to process your emotions, to forgive, to release, to correct your posture before stepping into a new day. It allows you to reset your perspective, to remind your soul that it is God who carries you. When your heart is aligned in this way, your speech becomes powerful. You begin to decree, not from a place of fear or desperation, but from conviction. Your spirit begins to speak with authority, with understanding, and with awareness of the spiritual laws you are activating. This is why the night is a sacred moment. Not a moment for fear, not a moment for worry, not a moment for the mind to wander into anxiety, but a moment for intentionality. The night invites you to partner with God, to declare his promises, to silence the voice of the enemy, and to prepare your path for the morning. When you speak at night, you are sowing seeds into time. You are speaking into a day you have not yet seen, commanding it to align with the purposes of heaven. You are standing between what was and what will be, shaping the unseen so that the seen bows in obedience. The night is not empty, it is pregnant with the next chapter of your life, and the one who understands how to command the night becomes the one who walks confidently into the morning, already aware that victory has gone ahead of them. Every day that dawns is not neutral. A day does not simply appear and begin functioning on its own. The realm of the spirit is the engine room of everything that manifests in the physical. Before anything shows up in the visible world, it has already taken shape in an invisible dimension. This is why your words matter more than your intentions, more than your wishes, more than your silent hopes. In the spirit, silence is never empty. Silence is agreement. Silence is consent. What you do not challenge, you indirectly endorse. What you do not confront, you quietly permit to continue. So when someone wakes up and says, I hope today will be a good day, they are already too late. Hope is not a strategy in the spirit. Authority is. Every day responds to the one who speaks over it. Days are like servants sent ahead of you, but they cannot operate until they hear your instruction. Many people step into a new day without first sending forth their words to guide it. Imagine a king walking into a territory without sending soldiers ahead, without setting order, without giving directives. That king is vulnerable, not because he lacks power, but because he failed to use his voice. The same is true spiritually. If you do not send words ahead of you, you send weakness ahead of you. If you do not give the day direction, you leave it to be shaped by whatever spiritual climate is already in operation. The reason silence is so dangerous is because the natural world is already influenced by unseen forces, pressures, patterns, cycles, and atmospheres that have been created over time. If you do not speak, those pre-existing forces shape your outcomes by default. And most of the time, those forces are not aligned with your destiny. That is why some people wake up and everything feels heavy. Nothing is wrong physically, but something in the atmosphere has not been addressed. Something in the realm of the spirit was left unchallenged. The moment you stay silent, you surrender authority to the wrong influence. Silence is not peace. Silence is permission. Your voice is one of the greatest gifts given to you. When you speak with understanding, you are not just expressing thoughts, you are legislating, you are issuing decrees, you are setting up structures, you are aligning spiritual forces to work for you This is why instruction, prayer, prophecy, and declaration are never empty words. They are commands, they are signals, they are spiritual codes that shape reality. A day does not automatically become good. It becomes what you have announced over it. A day does not automatically bring blessing. You command blessing into it. A day does not automatically resist the plans of darkness. You enforce resistance with your words. There is something powerful that happens when a person begins to speak to their day with conviction. The atmosphere begins to shift. Fear loses its grip. Confusion retreats. Hidden opposition becomes powerless. You begin to feel clarity rising inside. It is not psychological. It is spiritual alignment taking place. Your spirit begins to take the posture of authority. You become aware that you are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are not a victim of whatever the day will bring. You are the one who commands what the day must bring. This is why morning declarations and nighttime commands are so emphasized in scripture and in spiritual tradition. These are not rituals, they are laws. Laws that govern manifestation. Laws that govern timing. Laws that govern encounters. Your day listens to your voice. Creation responds to the sound of authority. Even Jesus, when walking the earth, spoke to storms, trees, spirits, sickness, and situations. He demonstrated that nothing in this world is too natural to hear a spiritual voice. Everything God created can respond, because everything came into existence through a spoken word. If words build the world, words can shape your day. Many people underestimate the power of the first and last words they speak each day. The words you speak before sleeping and the words you speak when waking up set the direction for the next 24 hours. They determine your emotional posture, your spiritual clarity, your discernment, and the kind of favor that finds you. When you speak with intention, your words become like arrows sent into the future, dismantling what is not of God and preparing what is meant for you. This is why you must not allow fear or negativity to be your last voice of the night or your first voice of the day. Your spirit absorbs those words deeply. The day that hears fear in the morning will respond with intimidation. The day that hears anger will respond with agitation. The day that hears hopelessness will respond with discouragement. But the day that hears authority, prayer, faith, and prophetic instruction will respond with order, clarity, favor, and divine intervention. There is also a spiritual principle that what you speak early is amplified throughout the day. A small declaration becomes a large influence. A simple prophetic word becomes a shield, and a decree whispered before dawn becomes a spiritual force that covers you on the road, in conversations, in decisions, and in unexpected situations. That decree goes ahead of you like an officer clearing the path. So when you declare, this day aligns with the will of God, no weapon formed against me will prosper, my steps are ordered, my mind is sound, my path is blessed, my helpers appear, my enemies fail, my destiny advances. You are not motivating yourself, you are shaping the invisible framework of the next 24 hours. You are activating angels, you are shutting the door on darkness, you are commanding the day to cooperate with the purposes of God. There are battles a person can see, and there are battles all that wage quietly, invisibly, yet fiercely against destiny. Not every enemy appears with a face. Not every opponent speaks with words. Some enemies operate as patterns, thoughts, cycles, atmospheres, and resistances that follow a person silently. These enemies do not always confront your physical body. They confront your purpose. They attempt to weaken your confidence, steal your joy, delay your progress, or distort your perspective until you no longer move with the conviction and clarity required to fulfill your assignment. That is why understanding these three major enemies is so important. Fear, delay, and hidden opposition. They may not look threatening in the natural, but spiritually, they are some of the most aggressive forces working against progress. Fear is one of the earliest and most consistent enemies of destiny. It creeps in quietly, often disguised as caution or concern. Fear does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers. It whispers doubt. What if it fails? What if you are not enough? What if things will not work out? Fear has a way of magnifying the problem and minimizing the grace of God. It takes a moment of uncertainty and stretches it until it feels like a permanent reality. A person does not have to fall physically to be defeated. Fear can defeat them internally long before anything happens externally. Fear freezes potential. Fear delays obedience. Fear builds a prison around your mind and convinces you that stepping out is too dangerous. And what is most deceptive about fear is that it often uses logic to justify itself. But destiny is not built on logic alone. It is built on faith, obedience, and courage. Fear is an enemy, not because it is loud, but because it is convincing. And if left unchallenged, it becomes a voice that shapes your decisions without you realizing it. Then there is delay, the silent thief of time. Delay does not always mean denial. Sometimes it means interference. Delay is an enemy because it makes progress feel difficult and slow. You know what you should be doing, you know where you should be heading, and yet something keeps pulling you back, slowing your steps or complicating simple things. Delay exhausts energy. It wears down enthusiasm. It drains hope bit by bit. Over time, delay can make a person question themselves, question their destiny, and even question God. That is why delay is not just a situation, it is a spiritual enemy. It is a force that understands that discouragement is a powerful weapon. If you cannot be stopped, the next strategy is to slow you down until you begin to stop yourself. Delay is dangerous, not simply because it wastes time, but because it affects the heart. It can make you lose the urgency, the passion, the faith required to move forward boldly. And then there is hidden opposition. This is perhaps the most subtle enemy of the three. Hidden opposition does not announce itself. It does not always manifest as an obvious attack. Instead, it works through unseen spiritual resistance, unexplained setbacks, strange patterns, emotional weariness, or sudden confusion that seems to rise from nowhere. Hidden opposition is like invisible hands pushing back against you, making what should be easy feel unusually heavy. It is the kind of spiritual resistance that makes you feel stuck even when you are doing everything right. You pray, you plan, you act, but something blocks, something interferes, something reduces the results of your effort. This enemy thrives in secrecy because if you cannot identify it, you will blame yourself for battles that are not even coming from you. Hidden opposition is real, and it is one of the most common tools used against people who are close to their next level. The closer a person moves toward breakthrough, the more intense the invisible resistance becomes. But even though these enemies are real, they are not undefeatable. They rely on one thing: your ignorance. When you do not understand what you are fighting, you cannot effectively resist it. That is why light spiritual understanding is one of your greatest weapons. Once you recognize fear for what it is, fear loses its authority. Once you discern delay as a spiritual interference, you stop accepting it as normal. Once you identify hidden opposition, you stop blaming yourself and begin to address the real source. Awareness itself becomes a form of victory. Your voice becomes even more powerful when you understand what you are addressing. When you declare, fear will not have dominion over me. You are not reciting words. You are confronting a spirit that thrives on silence. When you speak against delay, you are breaking cycles that have lingered around your life for years. When you bow, I command every hidden resistance to bow. You are opening pathways that have been spiritually blocked. Words spoken with understanding carry fire. They carry weight. They carry the authority of a person who knows what they are dealing with. That is why tonight is not casual. When you speak into the night with revelation, you are not merely praying. You are striking at enemies that have been striking you for too long. You are confronting fear that has lived in your thoughts. You are challenging delay that has slowed your progress. You are exposing hidden opposition that has been operating without your awareness. You are announcing to every force working against your purpose that enough is enough. These enemies must bow when confronted by authority. They must fail when faced with spiritual conviction. They must retreat when they hear the voice of someone who understands who they are and what they carry. Fear can only torment an uninformed heart. Delay can only linger in an unguarded atmosphere. Hidden opposition can only function when unchallenged. But when a person rises with understanding, when they speak with faith, when they command with authority, every enemy that stood confidently begins to tremble. Tonight, you are not speaking as a victim. You are speaking as one who has discovered the truth. And the truth dismantles every weapon formed against you. There is a realm of divine assistance that many people never fully step into. Not because it is unavailable, but because it is not understood. In the natural world, a person can only be in one place at one time. You can only handle so many things, reach so many people, and solve so many problems within a single day. But in the realm of the spirit, God has designed a system where help can go. Ahead of you, prepare the way for you. Fight battles you cannot see, and align circumstances long before you arrive. This help is not imaginary. It is real, intentional, and deeply woven into the fabric of spiritual order. When a person aligns themselves with God, they do not walk into a day alone. They walk with a divine convoy, unseen but undeniably powerful. One of the most comforting truths in the spiritual journey is the knowledge that heaven responds to alignment. There are times when God waits for your heart to be positioned correctly before releasing what has already been prepared for you. Alignment is not perfection, it is agreement. It is when your thoughts, words, desires, and expectations come into harmony with the will of God. In that moment, heaven recognizes your readiness and assistance begins to flow. What you could not accomplish on your own becomes possible, because heaven itself begins to back you. This is what many people call favor, but in reality, favor is simply the visible expression of invisible alignment. When a person aligns with God's purpose, something supernatural begins to happen. Situations that were once rigid begin to bend. Hearts that were once closed begin to open. Paths that were blocked begin to clear. It is not because the world suddenly became easier. It is because spiritual forces have been assigned to go ahead of you. There are angels whose ministry is to enforce divine purpose